It was the early 1920s, a time of glamour, jazz, and roaring prosperity. Factories buzzed with opportunity, and for many young women in America, jobs at the radium dial companies seemed like golden tickets, literally. These women were hired to paint watch dials, clocks, and instrument panels with a luminous substance made from radium. The paint was magical. It glowed in the dark with an otherworldly green shimmer. Imagine being a teenager or young woman then, working in a clean factory instead of a grimy one, being paid well for steady, precise work, and being surrounded by what everyone thought was cutting-edge science. It felt modern. It felt safe. It felt exciting. The women were even told the job was glamorous. Supervisors encouraged them to lip point a technique, where workers sharpened their brushes between their lips to get a finer tip before dipping it back into the radium paint. Imagine doing that dozens, hundreds, thousands of times a day. A dab of glowing paint on your tongue, swallowed without a second thought. They were assured it was harmless. In fact, radium was the miracle element of the age, touted as a health booster. There were radium-infused toothpastes, cosmetics, even drinking water. People believed radium gave vitality, energy, and beauty. For the girls in the dial factories, licking a brush hardly seemed dangerous. It was part of the job. And oh, how they glowed! After long shifts, workers would walk home with hair, skin, and clothes sparkling faintly in the dark. Some even painted their nails and teeth for fun before dates, dazzling their friends at dances. They were nicknamed the Ghost Girls, shining with the strange glow of progress. But beneath the shimmer, something horrifying was happening. At first, the illnesses were mysterious. A girl would have a toothache that didn't go away. Another would find her jaw swollen and painful. Dentists reported teeth falling out with alarming ease, infections spreading through the gums. Strange sores that wouldn't heal appeared. Some women's bones seemed to dissolve, their jaws literally breaking apart in their mouths. Doctors were baffled at first, blaming things like syphilis or bad hygiene, but one by one, the girls who had once laughed and sparkled began to waste away. Their bodies were collapsing from within. The truth was ghastly. Radium, when ingested, behaves like calcium in the body. It travels into the bones, lodging there, where its radioactive decay quietly bombards living tissue. The women's skeletons became radioactive from the inside out. Their cells were being destroyed, their marrow poisoned, their bones crumbling. This wasn't just sickness, it was slow, inevitable death. By the mid-1920s, the number of sick women could no longer be ignored. Lawsuits began, but fighting back wasn't easy. These were working-class women, often very young, against powerful corporations with money and lawyers on their side. The companies denied responsibility, hired doctors to downplay the dangers, and even accused the girls of making up stories for money. In a cruel twist, they pointed to the false diagnosis of syphilis to discredit them publicly, destroying reputations as well as bodies. But the women refused to be silenced. A few courageous individuals, like Grace Fryer in New Jersey, fought through illness to take their cases to court. Grace's teeth were gone, her bones riddled with pain, but she persisted. In Illinois, Catherine Donohue, who could barely stand in the courtroom, became the face of another trial. She was so weak, she testified from her deathbed. Her jaw was gone, her body wasted, but her voice carried the truth. The stories of these women began to attract press attention, shocking the public with the grisly reality behind the glowing paint. The lawsuits dragged on, but slowly the tide began to turn. The courts eventually recognized the link between radium and the horrific illnesses. The women won settlements, though often too late to save their lives. Many died before receiving justice. Catherine Donohue passed away before her case was even resolved. Yet their suffering sparked something larger, a movement that forever changed workplace safety and public health. The tragedy of the Radium Girls became a turning point in the fight for workers' rights. Their cases led to stricter labor protections, the recognition of occupational disease, and the foundation of new safety standards in industries dealing with toxic substances. The scandal also forced scientists and regulators to confront the dangers of radiation. No longer could companies hide behind claims of ignorance or miracle cures. And perhaps the most haunting legacy, the women themselves. Decades later, Their bones still glow faintly under Geiger counters, a chilling reminder of how their bodies became radioactive monuments to corporate greed and scientific blindness. Their graves are hot even now, testaments to the poison they unwittingly swallowed. But in their suffering, they gave the world something invaluable: awareness. Because of the Radium Girls, the world learned the lethal cost of unchecked industry and blind faith in new technologies. They shone brightly, yes, but it was a glow born of betrayal. Their story continues to resonate today, not only as a cautionary tale of workplace exploitation, but as a symbol of courage. Against overwhelming odds, women who were dying fought back, forcing the world to listen. They refused to let their suffering remain invisible. They turned their pain into power, their deaths into change. So next time you glance at a luminous watch dial or marvel at the wonders of science, remember the Radium Girls. The women who glowed in the dark, who laughed in shimmering clothes on their way home from work, and who unknowingly carried death within their bones. They paid the ultimate price so that others might be spared. Radium, a highly radioactive element, can have severe side effects on human health. Prolonged exposure to radium, or its radiation, can cause serious damage to bones, tissues, and organs, as the body tends to store radium in bones like calcium. This can lead to bone cancer, anemia, and weakened immune function. Direct contact may also cause skin burns, sores, and radiation poisoning. Inhaling or ingesting radium-contaminated dust or water can be extremely dangerous, with long-term exposure increasing the risk of severe illness or death. If you found this story as haunting and powerful as it is important, don't let it fade into the shadows. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and share this with someone who loves history but hasn't yet heard about the women who lit up the night and the fight for justice. Because stories like these remind us, progress always comes with a cost, and it's up to us to make sure it's never forgotten.